Welcome to the Always in Escrow podcast with Colby Burchin and Serena Appel. Hello, Colby.
Serena, how are you?
I am good. I am so excited that we are being joined by Jon and Elissa Grabow, who are the owners and directors of Camp Chen-A-Wanda, a beautiful co-ed sleepaway camp nestled in the endless mountains of Pennsylvania. They have been at the helm of this camp since 2008, and this is going to be their 17th summer as owners and directors. So more about the camp is to be discussed. It's a camp for boys and girls ages 7 to 16 years old who come from communities throughout New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Maryland, Pennsylvania, South Florida, and even North Carolina and California. Hello, Jon and Elissa. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
This is exciting. I'm very excited because it brings back like childhood memories, Serena, for me. Like literally, I went to sleepaway camp. I think it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. So I'm going to dive right in, guys. Why should families send their kids away for 7 weeks?
It's a great question. Coming from a non-camper, so Jon went to sleepaway camp since he was 7 years old. My experience was really different. And, when we first got married, he would say to me, when we have kids, they're going to go to sleepaway camp. I'm like, who sends their kids to sleepaway camp? I'm from California. So we just went outside and came back home when the street light came on. So my summers were really, really different than Jon's. So I'm married into this amazing man's dream of sleepaway camp for our kids. And when we were fortunate enough to jump into the camping industry in 2008, I was hook, line, and sinker, and seeing the benefits of our own kids. We have 3 daughters who went through the program, just finally finished with our youngest daughter just finished her CIT summer last summer. So we're done with being camp parents.
We have 3 kids getting paid now.
Yes, which is amazing. But the benefits that we saw were enormous for their emotional development, for their ability, even though we were there, we're not there, we're taking care of a city. So their experience was navigating through friends and boys and finding their voice and all those things that you do without your parents around for 7 weeks in the summer. So we personally see it. One, obviously professionally, we see amazing things happen summer after summer with so many kids. But for our own, it was, Jon and I have this theory, and I'll hand it over to him. But we have a theory that if I could gift our children confidence and self-esteem and that prideful point in their life when they're like, I can do hard things, I would sell everything I can and I would put it in a big box with a bow to them. But we can't do that. It's experiences like this that give them that moment where they're hills and valleys and they're navigating it themselves. That to me is what summer camp is about. So the benefits, oh my gosh, personal growth in the safest way. It's a community of learning really important emotional lessons.
I think a lot of parents would ask you, like, how do I know my kid is ready? Like, are they ready for summer camp? You don't know. What would you say about that?
Again, another great question. I think, very much this falls in line with many other topics as a parent, where if I could open up chapter 11 as a parent and say, okay, is my child ready? It would make our lives much easier and every parent's life much easier. Of course, there's some basic life skills. You have to be able to shower by yourself. You have to be able to wipe your butt by yourself. Kind of the basic life skills. Put yourself to sleep at night. Once you sort of get through some of those basic life skill checklist, then it becomes sort of mommy and daddy intuition. And is my kid ready? Am I ready to send my child? So I don't think there's a magic answer to that. I think it's, do the parents have an interest? Do they understand the benefits of what overnight camp really provides?
And it's not that you have to be the master. Listen, kids come to us just finishing 2nd grade or starting 3rd, starting 4th in that range. Some of the kids aren't the greatest sleep out kids at that point. So it doesn't mean, oh my God, does my kid have to have like this mastery of sleeping out without freaking out and calling us in the middle of the sleep out going, come get me. Because that's typical and normal for some kids. So it's not about being this perfect 7-year-old child that's like, great, they're perfect with brushing their teeth and their hair and doing all these life skills. But there has to be kind of a lean in towards that space, knowing that this is going to be you taking care of yourself. Emotionally, we've got them. And they learn along the way. And have there been pee-pee accidents? Absolutely. Have there been moments where they're learning along this process? Yeah, because they're little. And it's also finding a great camp to support that journey with them. Because we get kids as baby. I mean, they're little, so they don't know fully understand. They might not even fully understand, like, I'm going away for 7 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever the camp that you decide. But it's the process of, like I always say, be the flight attendant for your kid. So even if they look at you like, can I do this? You're like, of course you can. Of course you can. So, you don't know what you don't know. So we give it a shot and we give it a go. And for 99% of our kids, they fly.
I think it's fantastic to have the Sleepaway camp experience. My son is 12 now. He's been going to Sleepaway camp. I went to Sleepaway camp, and you've talked about some of the benefits of Sleepaway, the Sleepaway experience. Are there any others aside from just having the basic life skills to walk in? Any other life skills that you see kids coming out with that surprise parents?
Absolutely. You know, we always say that when your child gets off the bus on the last day of camp around mid-August, depending on when your camp ends, of course, your child's probably going to come home a little taller, a little tanner, definitely with camp voice, that hoarse, voice from yelling from events in the summer. But then as a parent, you'll see the magic, and you'll see the independence that your child has really gained. And that independence happens literally minute by minute in a camp scenario, from what you're going to eat during the meals. At home, lots of times us parents will put the meals down in front of our children, and they'll pick up the fork and go ahead and start to eat. At camp, what's amazing is the kids have this, it's like a microcosm of what camp really does just in the dining room, because am I going to eat fruit, or am I going to have 2 bagels this morning? And again, food could be a very different long conversation, but just that scenario is the microcosm of really what happens at camp, where kids are making their own decisions, and they are, they're not being helicoptered by us parents, which is kind of a thing in today's society. Guilty.
And when we see the camp, and that's such a great example, because every decision is their decision. I mean, yes, there is some, they can't do, it's not a free for all at camp, but there's a long leash that as parents, it's hard. It is hard to kind of let go. And when you see your kids making those choices, we have campers that don't try out for the baseball team, and the parents will get wind of that, maybe get a letter or see that their child's not playing on the team. And they call us and they're like, why aren't they on the team? That was their choice. And so it is this incredible evolution of their own journey. And that there alone, I really believe, is the magic, because they're finding out what they like and what they want to do. And, there's no pressure. So that's also alleviates that kind of ability to just do what you think your parents want you to do or your best friend wants you to do. It's like, no, on today's elective, I want to go to pottery. It's really completely, and those little milestones is exactly what I was referring to before, of how our kids become confident and how they navigate this big world of ours. It just starts with those decisions that they feel joyful enough to make for themselves.
So true. So how do parents know if they pick the right camp? Is there like a guideline you guys go by?
Well, we can work backwards. I think the best guideline and measurement is your child safe and happy? And, us parents might have a different set of goggles on, because, some parent might think, well, I need air conditioning in a bunk, and that's fine. And some parents might feel, I need a pool at my camp. And so parents might have a certain view from a measurement perspective. But I think, again, working backwards, if your child is safe and your child is happy, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you should dig into.
When kids are at camp, what do you tell parents that are feeling disconnected from them? What kind of advice do you give them?
At our camp, there's 3 phone calls per summer that kids will get with their families, in addition to visiting day, even though the last couple summers we haven't had visiting day because of COVID, but we're going to be going back to the traditional visiting day. So there's really 4 touches that parents will get in an entire 7-week program. That's hard for them, knowing where they came from every day, every meal, every drive, every after school activity, every problem with every issue. Moms and dads are right there. It is an emotional mind challenge for parents to go, I'm going to let go and not fully know this world that I'm sending my kid into. So, we understand that it's hard. We are the parent. We have 3 kids. We went through the same thing as the parents that are sending their kids to us go through every day. There's no difference. We understand. So we know that they are literally biting their nails, imagining my kid is the one in the corner of the bunk, rocking back and forth, sucking her thumb because she's lonely, miserable. She hasn't eaten. I mean, I understand this kind of thought process when you don't know what's happening. So the first couple days, we always say, parents, just kind of take a breath. You're going to get oodles of pictures. You're going to see your child come off the bus. You're going to get videos. You're going to, which is a plus and a minus, because we kind of almost like paralyze the parents to the computer and they refresh. But in about day 5 or 6, we call home with an exact kind of a conversation that we've had with their camper. So our staff sits down with the camper, the new campers. So these are only for new campers to kind of ease them into this journey. And they ask questions. And every single year, Jon and I will call home and we'll say, okay, this is your new camper interview. And the parents are eager, mom and dad right there. Their parents are right there waiting to hear the little nuggets of how their camper's doing. And first question will always be, my favorite meal at camp so far has been, spaghetti and meatballs. And the parents are oozing with, yes, that's their favorite meal. I know, at home too. So there's this kind of we want to be able to have parents at home breathe, because when we know that when their kids are happy, they're happy. So information is key. And it's really finding a camp that you feel that you can get that information from. And then we see parents kind of breathe and kind of can take a space and understand that, okay, this is my summer. By summer 2, by summer 3, they're off in Europe enjoying their time, knowing their kids are going to be fine. And that's a big leap. So finding that camp that I'm never going to feel bad when I call up and go, oh my God, I got a terrible letter. That connection and communication for parents of this stage of the game of where we're at social, it's important. And they're a part of this equation. We take care of your kids. We want you at home to know they're fine, or they're struggling. They're having a hard time. You're going to get another tough letter. We're going to get them through this. So communication is key. So with that disconnection, there's hopefully a freedom that they feel with whoever they find their kid at their camp, that there's that level of connection that they can have, knowing, she okay? Is he okay?
And I think the process really begins with the tour, meeting you. And I wanted to go back to that. And what are the best kind of questions that parents can ask when they are touring the camp, when they are having an opportunity to talk to you, talk to other staff about the experience?
Touring is sort of a bit of my responsibility and expertise, if you will. So I do a vast majority of the tours. I think if I'm shopping camps, I think meeting the owner is very, very important. And in some cases, the owners maybe aren't involved or more removed. As parents, I would feel very important to get to know the owner. No one is more vested in your child and in the camp than the owner of the camp. So by being owners and directors, we feel, kind of separates us from some camps. Lots of great questions, I think, aren't as much about the facilities. And it almost sounds strange and a bit of an oxymoron, but, the facilities for the most part are going to be great. Don't worry about facilities. Focus more on who's going to be taking care of my children, where the staff come from. the retention rate in the staff.
It's key.
You want to make sure as you're looking at camps, is it going to be a whole new set of staff every year? Or am I going to be able to have similar counselors or same counselors year after year for my kid? And that to me is what's really, really important.
And one thing that and Jon does I would say 99% of all of our tours. When I do a tour, I always tell families, just take a look, just watch the kids. There was a woman that I did a tour for. This was, oh my gosh, back in maybe 2010. And she had a huge notebook and she had it all divided up. And it was like, I saw the little tabs. It was like pool, gymnastics, horseback riding, like all the little. And I looked at her and I said, can you just put that down for a minute? She was writing furiously, like, they have a pool. They have no horseback riding. They have this, they have that. So I actually said to her, can you just put it down? And I was so worried that I hope she wasn't going to think that I was this. But I said, I want you just to look. I just want you to look at our kids and look at the counselors, how engaged they are with the kids. Just look. So we were her last camp. I actually know she did 7 camps because I said, oh my gosh, you are the most thorough person. But I said, just look, and I want you to get a feel. I want you to take a look at how it smells and how the kids are engaged with the activities. So she put her book down and she signed up with us. Because I wanted her to get a feeling of what it felt like. There's people that come onto our camp and it's not for them. And there's going to be people that go to other camps who are like, oh my God, I got the feeling. But if you see camp in action, if you book your tours, which is super important to get a sense of that vibe of what it looks like during the session, it tells you volumes. And you're right. Everyone's going to have great stuff. We got great stuff. It's the stuff inside, the people. That's the heartbeat. That's what makes everyone come back and so addicted to camp.
That's incredible.
Fantastic. What's the best way to deal with a letter that goes along the lines of, Dear Mom and Dad, please pick me up. I need to come home. I am so homesick.
Yep. We've had a few of those.
Just a few.
Letters are essential, but are also double-edged swords. Envision a typical camper. If a camper's struggling, hopefully your director is going to be proactive enough to get the parents involved before it's too late. Letters are a moment in time. So envision what's going on at camp. Your child is running, your child is playing, strategically so. It's a very, very busy day. And rest hour is traditionally a time after lunch. It's 45 minutes when kids are supposed to rest. And years ago, it used to be lay in your bed and rest. Not so much anymore. It doesn't really work with today's kids. But in the same breath, we want our kids to write home and communicate with family back home. So it's a moment in time. Now, all of a sudden, camp world has stopped and your child has taken your pen to paper and now has a chance to think about you. And hopefully your child misses you. So how does that translate? Now, it's overnight camp for a first-year camper is almost strange. You know, your child's leaving you at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. That's strange. So putting all that into an equation to get a letter like that almost makes sense. Our recommendation would be pick up the phone, call your camp director and say, hey, got this letter. Can you look into this for me? I'll say from our experience in 17 years now, 9 times out of 10, it was a moment in time. And the child will say, oh, you mean that letter I wrote 4 days ago? Oh, yeah, I remember that now. And yeah, I was sad for a moment, but I got to go to my soccer game now. 9 times out of 10.
And that's always also on the calls, because when we have phone calls, when phone calls start, they usually start day 10 for us. Mm-hmm. We circle the building because we know that's the first time they are literally going to be jolted back into reality of hearing mom and dad's voice. And they're going to be, it's a weird, when you get into a camp mode, nothing beyond the gates exist. There could be, God forbid, an atomic bomb. We wouldn't know. We are worried about Olympics and we're worried about girls singing. We have a whole ecosystem of connections that the outside world doesn't exist. So all of a sudden we're like, Jimmy, you have a phone call. And then they go and they hear and we're surrounding the buildings. We've got camp moms. We've got all of our head staff. We've got all of our adults in the room, all of our counselors. So kids will go and they'll go, ha, and they hear your voice. And we see it. We are literally standing there. It's gut wrenching. So I know you at home and you're like, how are you? And all you hear is crying. It's nauseating. It gut punches you as a parent. What we see 9 times out of 10, I'm not even going to go 9.5, 9.9 times out of 10. This is what we see. Here's my phone. They hang up. You're a wreck at home. And the kids are like, all right, I got to go. And they run off to snack call. There is no bugged out kid rocking back and forth in a straitjacket that we are damaged. It doesn't happen. And I'm like, oh my God, if we just videotape that little, like, parents will call us and go, oh my God, I just got to check. I know, we were there. And I literally sometimes like, but watch her now. She's literally on the big Mabel in the lake. It's weird to hear mom and dad's voice. And then they get sprung back in, which is visiting day is the same thing. It's a gut punch for a lot of families.
Parents, if you take anything away from this amazing podcast, pick up the phone, call your director.
Just open dialogue. And there comes in the trust. Do you trust the people who have your kids? Are they going to just sugarcoat it and say, no, they're fine? Or they're going to say, she had a hard day and we're getting through it.
Such great information for parents. I have a question. What are some issues with friends from home choosing the same camp? I'm sure it happens. Do you recommend that? Do you say not so much?
It's a great question. It's a common topic. If we get a phone call from a parent from Livingston or from Boca, and I heard there's 2 other kids from our elementary school that are coming too. It's a great question. There's really no right answer. It really comes down to the combination of the kids. And I can give you dozens of examples of kids from Roslyn, New York, where it worked beautifully. And I can give you examples of kids from Bethesda, Maryland, where it did not work. And it has nothing to do with where they're from. It has to do with the specific kids.
And it's interesting because sometimes we'll get families that will call and say, did the so-and-so sign up? And it becomes almost, no, I've chosen the camp first. And it's an interesting thing because I understand as parents, we want our kids to have home friends and we want them to have camp friends. And that's important, to have a little bit of a break and not just kind of have someone as a 365. That's what the kids call their home. If you bring a friend from home, they're a 360. That's the lingo, my 365. And there's also scenarios where we're like, you know what, we're home friends. And we've seen this, even cousins. Let's not put them in the same bunk. Let's get a little bit of separation. So even though they're in the same division, let's just give them some space. So at night they can kind of form a different relationship, which might be the girl right next to her in bed or the boy that's up above him in the bunk or something. So there's some scenarios where don't eliminate a camp just because your next door neighbor has chosen it. Because that could be, you could work it out where you could say, they love each other from home. They have play dates all the time. Let's separate them in the bunk. Let's put them in different bunks. Easy peasy. And there's so many dynamics that change if kids from home or kids who know each other from, I don't know, a soccer team or a BBYO, that you could, a different mix of kids changes the dynamic. There's some super friends that are besties in the same group of friends at home, but at camp, they have different groups of girls or boys that they hang out with. So it's not a deal breaker, I think, if your friend goes. You just make it work.
What if a camper wants to leave early?
It's not a thing.
Okay.
I think once as parents, assuming there's not an unsafe scenario, whether that be physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I'm a big believer in camp. No matter what camp it is, needs to be safe across the board. And assuming we're past, there's no real issues happening, you got to trust the process. And we always say to parents, do not make deals with your children. Our kids are way smarter than we know they are. And if you say to your child, hey, bud, don't worry about it. If you don't like it, I'll come pick you up next week. Don't you worry about a thing, chicken wing. And just knowing I'm just trying to get him out the door,
Yeah.
Your child will remember that. They will have, little crayon on the wall marking each day that they're at camp. So do not make a deal. Really good language to use is, listen, bud, if you don't like, or, hey, kiddo, if you don't like camp, we could talk about maybe not coming back next year. But when we make a commitment to this, we're going to stick to it.
That's key. Once the deal is made, we've all lost, because kids will not get beyond their discomfort. And if we say, I love you and I know that you got this, and obviously if parents are going through that with their camper, you're on the phone with the director, that will subside, guaranteed. If it doesn't, maybe that, and again, we've only had how many kids that are just truly not sleepaway camp? Maybe 2 in the year. I mean, there's maybe been 2 campers that I can refer to that were like, sleepaway camp wasn't for them. So get through those moments. And there's campers that, I mean, we have alumni that come back year after year that are like, oh my God, I hated camp in the beginning, or it was such a struggle for me. And if I left, it would have changed the course of my life, because I needed to know I can get through those moments. And you get through those moments in a really loving embrace. Again, it's trusting the owners, because it comes down from what's their values, what's their connection to the kids, what is important to them that will hopefully radiate to the staff that's taking care of my kids. It's key to know who's taking care of your kids. Way over if they have horseback riding, which is obviously you want activities that are important to or you want to, include for the summer for your camper, but it's who is taking care of your kids. What's their values and philosophy?
Fantastic. So one of the updates to Sleepaway Camp since we were campers, Colby, is that many camps are a bit more savvy with posting pictures and updates. And, it's definitely keeping up with the time. So is that something that you offer?
Absolutely. And every camp obviously does it a bit differently. We're very transparent, not only with communication, but also with being able to see your kids. So we utilize lots of technology that's out there, from Instagram stories and Snapchat and Twitters and all the social media platforms.
Like in real time.
Yep. And then separately, old school pictures, because parents love to grab it and post them all over the place and build their own collages and galleries. So we're posting 500-600 pictures a day. Yep. We have a team of 6 or 7 staff, and that's all they do is literally video and pictures for the parents to see. We do, Elissa writes a nighttime blog. Nice little personal touch. She kind of gets a snapshot of what happens in the day, and she personally writes that every night. So if any parents are up at 1 a.m., they can continually refresh and read this amazing blog. And she's gotten accolades for these nice personal blogs.
That's so nice.
Or at least you wake up in the morning and enjoy it with your morning coffee.
Yeah. And again, it's just wanting to provide information to parents at home so they feel that they can breathe. And I always say, take a breath. It's okay, because it's out of their control and it's weird. It's a weird feeling. So us being able to provide pictures and videos, it allows them to be a fly on the wall. And when Jon mentioned my blog, I literally write this blog at 1 a.m. every night. It's the craziest. My 7 weeks of camp, when the kids are there, it's nuts. I want to go around during the day and I want to find that moment that exemplifies why we're all here. And I find these stories in the minute, from playing jacks in the girls' bunk, and I saw something that I'm like, that's why we're here. That moment of a little camper getting her feelings hurt and being able to look at her friend and say, you hurt my feelings. And the other friend that she said it to said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. Like, there's empathy happening. We're not here behind a screen. So when I see those moments, I have to scream it from the mountaintop. So I write these blogs to our families, and I'm sharing these moments that I wish that they could see, because it can't get captured on video or camera. And so I really want to share these stories, which our families love. And there's plentiful. There's every day. There must be hundreds that I stumble upon. And so I share these moments that are so important for the family at home to realize that their decision to send their kid to sleepaway camp was the right one.
So I have a question about that. If you were a first timer, do you think half the summer is better than doing the full 7 weeks? I'm sure a lot of families feel that, oh, maybe they're not ready for that. Let's just try half. Do you guys offer that? What do you think about that?
We do. We are a traditional 7-week. Back a million years ago when I went to camp, it was 8 weeks, but now yeah, that's very traditional. Nowadays it's 7 just due to school schedules and lots of other stuff. And 7 weeks could seem big for little children, knowing that parents want their child to do a full summer session. So we do offer a 4-week option with the idea that campers, once they get comfortable, build the rapport with their friends, with their counselors. They've done it. They've done the hard part. 99.99% of our kids extend within that summer. So we do offer a 4-week. If a child wants to leave after 4 weeks, they can. It's rare because, again, they've done the hard part. Why would they want to leave at that point? So yeah, it's a good way to get your toe wet in the pool, to use that cliche, and then live their life at Chen-A-Wanda the rest of their 7 weeks.
Fantastic. I think people also, they're probably curious, who is taking care of their kids? How do you pick the staff? How does that work?
Oh my God, we're so lucky. We have the best people. First of all, the first year that it was my husband's idea to get into camping. So it was all him. And that I literally was like, oh, arts and crafts. And this is going to be so much fun. The first year, the summer, we were in our office and one of our counselors opened the door and he said, does anybody mind if I dress like a pirate today? And I was like, no, I don't. I can't believe we work with people who just want to dress up like a superhero or a pirate or tie-dye their face. This is awesome. So our staff, first of all, if you're going to work in camping, you are a tremendous human being because you love the outdoors, you love working with kids, you love this, and an overnight camp as well as the experience. So we're dealing with cream of the crop, incredible, creative, unique individuals baseline. And then we have the beauty of hiring every single person who comes across our who wants to join us. And so our barometer is, would I put you in a bunk with our children, which is really, no matter if it's a boy or girl, are you good enough that we know I would love for you to be in my kid's bunk. And if the answer is no, I wouldn't put whoever I wouldn't put with my child, I would certainly not put with yours. So we really love this community because it's an incredible, young, inspirational, what they bring to the table, the energy. So it keeps us super young because, we're really 100 years old. We just look like we're in our...
We've also been very fortunate that we have a huge percentage of our staff that were campers. So it's another great question as you're kind of looking at camps. Who's your staff? Where do they come from? Are they all American? Are they all international? And there's pros and cons to all of the above. But we have a massive retention rate in our staff, which makes my life much easier when it comes to hiring and rehiring. And the idea that, 2 to 3 of your counselors in your camper's bunk very well might be back next year is a very, very powerful thing for our children, just to have the same counselors. We have our youngest daughter. We've been fortunate. One of our counselors has been with her for 6 years.
Yep.
And now they're both staff members together, which is going to be quite funny as they go out for ice cream on their nights out.
Yeah, but it is an important question of how many staff come back every year. That's an important question for parents who are looking at summer camp.
Well, I'm ready. Serena, you want to go to camp? We should sign up.
Yeah.
I think we're too old.
No, I'd be I would really love to teach drama or something like that.
Great program.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing what you do.
My wife wants to sign up and be the ER physician for the camp. I'm like, I don't think so.
We have a brand new health center that's like an urgent care. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Then she'd be watching our kids. You need to separate. I think there has to be separation, but I don't know. I might have to do that just so I can send my kids. But
yeah.
I'm ready. I think it's great. How could people find you, follow you, sign their kids up? Because I think this is tremendous.
We're Camp Chen-A-Wanda.
Chen-A-Wanda. I love it.
Camp Chen-A-Wanda. If you call the phone number, you'll get one of us. Very mom and pop-ish. We have about 500 kids. We know every kid. We know every story. We know every allergy. I know every town that everybody's from. I don't know if you're hearing blinging, but texts from parents every other minute. We love what we do. Overnight camp in general is an amazing experience. Chen-A-Wanda, we feel, is a little different just because of us. And we have an amazing staff. Brian and Laura and Howard and Nancy and Aaron and
Allie
Gary
and Michelle
Allie
and Nikki and Ruben. It literally is. We are so proud because we have the best team in the business. And I know that probably every camp says that, which is why camping is such an incredible experience, because the connections that you make are lifelong. I mean, that's my cherry on top. Like I thank God every day that he had this crazy idea. He's like, let's get a camp. and it worked. And I see how we change people's lives, and they change ours, because there's not a summer that I come home the same person. I'm like, wow, that's an amazing experience that we just did. And the fact that we get to do this summer after summer, I'm like, we are blessed. We are blessed. So send your kids to camp, everybody, because it is, and if you can work at a camp, work at a camp.